He's always smiling, never heard him complain. He said I've proven God again and again. So no matter what the circumstances may be, God is always there for me. Yeah. Through the sunshine or through the rain, through the pleasure or through the pain, God is always there for me. No matter what the circumstances may be, yeah, God is always there for me. Yeah. Through the good times or through the bad, through the happy times or through the sad, God is always there for me. The landlord wears the rent, school fee too, partner drop bombs, and the youth them need you. Friends all ask me what I'm gonna do. I smile and tell them that God will see me through. So no matter what the circumstances may be, yeah, God is always there for me. Yeah. Through the sunshine or through the rain, through the pleasure or through the pain, God is always there for me. So no matter what the circumstances may be, God is always there for me. Yeah. Through the good times or through the bad, through the happy times or through the sad, God is always there for me. I met this old man, he was so poor. He didn't hold a bed, so he slept on the floor. He's always smiling, I never heard him complain. He said I've proven God again and again. So no matter what the circumstances may be, God is always there for me. Yeah. Through the sunshine or through the rain, through the pleasure or through the pain, God is always there for me. No matter what the circumstances may be.
Good evening to all my listeners and viewers. Welcome to Rebel Radio. We are late this evening, but better late than never. Yes. And as usual, we have your plate filled with nutritious information. Okay. We are going to start this evening by, as you know, at Rebel Radio, we try to keep in touch with our people. As I have always said that we in the Caribbean, we are one people. Some of us forget that, but we can't forget. And I have two of my colleagues, two of my own people, Mr. Jomo Thomas, over in St. Vincent, and Mr. Enrico Wolford over in Guyana. Yes, and we are going to look at what is happening to our people around the Caribbean, our people. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Mr. Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richards.
Yes, good afternoon to you, sir. Yes. And how are things going on over in St. Vincent today?
Well, it's a beautiful Caribbean day. Nice sunshine, not too hot, not too cold. I think it's about 70. Last time I checked, it was about 78 degrees. 6 months ago, we held an election here, so we have a new government that is trying to work its way, get the lay of the land. It is coming in after 25 years of Ralph Gonsalves Unity Labour Party government. So there's not a lot happening. I think that they're just trying to find themselves and to find their way.
Okay. They are just starting to walk the walk, and I can well imagine that there are lots of work to be done. So based on, as you said, that the elections is just early days, but
yes.
How are the people receiving the new government?
Well, remember the new government won a very strong mandate. It won 14 of the 15 parliamentary seats and about 56% of the vote. So that's a very strong mandate. But it has to deal with a tremendous amount of problems that had existed over the years. Unemployment issues, poverty issues, 4 out of 10 persons here in St. Vincent live in poverty. There are different ideas as to the state of unemployment. Government officials say between 10 and 12%. People on the ground say upwards of 20% and more. There's also the issue of crime so far this year. In a very small country like St. Vincent, we have had 17 homicides. And remember, that's Jamaica is what? In terms of population, about 25 times larger than ours.
Yes.
We just have about 100,000 people. We have 17 homicides. That's a lot.
Yes.
Per capita. So there's the issue of trying to find jobs for people, fixing the roads, fixing the hospitals, fixing the clinics, taking care of young people. Monumental problems that will take some time to work out. But the other thing that you have to understand is that these regimes across the region are neo-colonial regimes. So the question is, which one of them would do something or say something that would really resonate with people and that are truly intended to solve the basic needs of the people? There's a lot of rhetoric, but in terms of practical understanding and effort, as we see across the region, from Jamaica in the north to Trinidad, Guyana in the south, there's not much real improvement in the people's lives. So I would say from the very get-go that it is highly unlikely that there's going to be any substance. A lot of people talk about growth. I saw recently where it was said that after Guyana, St. Vincent is the largest, has experienced the largest growth and is projected on to have the largest growth rate in the Caribbean this year. But we all know that growth is not development. Growth, particularly when there are a number of big projects, may allow for people, a small elite, tiny elite, to become quite rich. But it does not really move the needle on poverty, continuous employment. So we have to watch and see, but I don't hold out much hope that there's going to be any substantial difference.
Yeah.
Substantial or substantive.
No, that is a substantial point you are making there, Mr. Thomas, because when you look around the Caribbean, you will see that most, if not all, the Caribbean governments follow are similar. And as you say, that not much has been done to improve the lives of the people around the Caribbean. That's a very substantial point. Let us hear what Enrico. Enrico, what's your take on that point there?
It's a very interesting point from the time you said that growth is not necessarily development. therefore, we have to ask ourselves what exactly development is. Whether development is the system that tells you that somebody has moved from point A to point B. Let's say education, for example. If you didn't have elementary education, that there's some kind of remedial education that will permit you to move in terms of both financial and in terms of social standing. And I think that is a challenge that we've had in the Caribbean for several years. As you guys mentioned, the elite seem to take over once a country is moving in a direction where there is an inflow of capital, you know? And I think the difficulty is that once that happens, then you end back up with the class system. You end up with those who have and have a lot, and those who have a lot then associate themselves with the political and the elitist class, and the rest of people are just left there to struggle. And I think internationally that is also what is happening. And it's really, really sad. It is an unusual case. And what it can lead to is widespread social unrest, and people are going to get so upset one day, you know, that feel that they would have to take matters into their own hands.
Yes, yes. When you look around in the Caribbean, it is we have seen growth. We have had growth around in the Caribbean economies. But when you look at the situation and the lives of the ordinary Caribbean man and woman, it leaves a lot to be desired. And the question of education, we are still having problems educating our young people, our men. Mr. Thomas just pointed out to the problems of crime in St. Vincent. We are having that problem in Jamaica. Yes, we have had a reduction, a significant reduction. But around the Caribbean, we are losing our young men to crime. And the social situation, housing, medical care, as I said, education for our black brothers and sisters around the Caribbean. We are not dealing with it, we are not addressing that at all. And we have had a system around the Caribbean, we can say, that we have had a system where we have been able to change governments every 5 years. Yes, as in St. Vincent, one party just ended a 25-year rule, but we have, the system is there where we can change governments peacefully without having to resort to bloodshed, but still for all the fundamental issues affecting the lives of the people are not moving. Gentlemen, I would ask both of you, what do you think should be done to impact the lives of the people around the Caribbean? Let's hear from you, Mr. Thomas.
Let me just say that I come from a left tradition. I come from a tradition where the people who I celebrated were the outstanding Guyanese historian Dr. Walter Rodney, people like Trevor Monroe out of Jamaica had an impact on me. Trevor Monroe and those guys in the Workers' Party of Jamaica. I had always been attracted to the Cuban Revolution and the promise that it offered. So the Caribbean as it stands now is, in Caribbean politics, is overwhelmed by neoliberal Washington consensus policies. That is to say, you do all that you can do to make life good for business. So just like we talk about a 1% in the United States, there's a 1% in Jamaica, there's a 1% in Grenada and Barbados and Trinidad, and there's a 1% in St. Vincent. And often, the policies that these governments carry out are intended to give a lot of rhetorical flourish to talk of the working class and the poor and everything else, but there's very little that's done in a practical sense to ensure that the people of our region, people of St. Vincent and across the region, really, really advance. So in my tradition, the tradition that I grew up with, one of our mantra, well, two mantras, let those who labor hold the rein. And because I got into politics around the time, progressive politics around the time when we were going for independence, the idea here in St. Vincent was, the slogan was, genuine independence, people's ownership and control. And I've been at this now for more than 50 years. What is clear is that many people who speak about representing people and speak about representing the poor are really representing the middle and upper classes. They do rhetorical talks about the poor, but they don't do anything. For example, here in St. Vincent, 1 month before the Ralph Gonsalves government was voted out of power, it sold about 51 acres of land to the Jamaican concern Sandals to build a beaches hotel. And the government says, well, you know, we're gonna get jobs. And you know, Ralph Gonsalves was on the radio last week saying, well, any place in the world you go, you need bartenders, you need bed changers, you need gardeners. So we're gonna get those jobs because we know that there's a Sandals here, and from the supervisor position, all of the supervisor positions up, none of them are held by Vincentians. They're held by people from outside. So it's the most menial jobs that we are getting. But what really compounds the problem is that they are getting alien land holding license, they're getting concessions and waivers, they're getting concessions and importation of foods and meats and liquors, they're getting waivers and dividends, they're getting waivers where people are paying VAT of 16%, they would be paying 11%. So across the board, apart from the jobs that we would get, Sandals would make an enormous profit. But beyond that, and nothing is wrong with that, that's what they're into, right? Beyond that is the environmental problem. And nobody talks about the environmental degradation that comes with these kind of developments. Because for one thing, you're going to need a tremendous amount of water, and the state has to provide that, the generation of the water. And if we were to go by what happened when the Bukama project came by the man, there's a guy called Ames, who had come here before. The government had such an incestuous relationship with Ames that Ames was not paying any kind of, he didn't pay water, he didn't pay electricity, because both water and electricity are government owned, state owned. He didn't pay it. So when he eventually left St. Vincent, he owed millions of dollars, including millions of dollars to employees whom he had not paid over several months. Then you're cutting down, I'll end it, let me just finish this last thought. So in the Sandals that was built, they cut out 40 acres of forest. And in this one that they proposed to build, they're going to cut out 50 acres of forest. If you're cutting down green, you're causing a reduction in oxygen, which could create this amount of problems for people. But that's the kind of development we have, not people-centered development. And you can be sure that these politicians are not stupid. I know these guys. I spoke to them. I have been in meetings with them. They are quite intelligent. And nobody could convince me that they are doing all of this giveaway to foreign concerns and not getting anything in return. So that's why we are in the state in which we are.
Yes. So you believe that in return for those investments that the politicians benefit from?
Well, yeah, the politicians benefit. They benefit in simple ways. They benefit in the sense that when election time comes, they may get some money to buy T-shirts, to bring in foreign artists. If they and the cohorts want to have their birthdays come, they get a chance to stay in some exclusive suite, and they think that is the high life. And in fact, it may be the high life for them, but it's not the high life for the vast majority of people. Like I said, 4 out of every 10 persons live in poverty. And if we were following closely with the trial of Michael Missick out of Turks and Caicos, we heard that Sandals, the same Sandals who's quoting here now and coming into St. Vincent, paid Missick and his brother and his lawyer $1 million so as they can get all concessions from the government. And I have no way of doubting that any of that same thing has happened or will happen in St. Vincent.
Yes. Let me hear Enrico. Enrico, what are your thoughts on what Mr. Thomas said?
Again, I find it interesting. I'm not a politician. I don't claim to be. I'm just a journalist observing what politicians and what the private sector and those who work in the public sector have been doing over the years. And I'll say this. The challenge has always been, particularly in the Caribbean, is to define what development is. What growth as we began is. And in addition to all of that, we have to deal with the whole challenge of corruption. One of the positions I hold is a founding member of Transparency International Guyana chapter. And what we have been saying at Transparency is we need proper campaign financing in Guyana and probably across the region, I put it this way, to ensure that our leaders who are put in place are not bought in any form or fashion, whether it's $1 million to buy T-shirts or to bring in somebody or what have you. Because as we're saying on this program, the problem is that we see society from a northern perspective, if I can put it that way. Societies are there to bring in money and to make money. Hence, you have the challenge in Guyana with regard to whether Guyana has had the best oil deal, or if you bring in gold investors, whether we have the best gold deal. But I also believe that at the other level, our societies need themselves and see how they can grow and develop using the resources that they have. And one of the areas that I honestly believe that we've always overlooked is that we are able to feel we're not able to have enough resources that we can clothe ourselves. We do not have resources that we could, and we're good at entertaining ourselves. Even in entertainment, all the support for that have to be imported, and we don't realize that the way the world is going, and you just have to look at what is happening in Cuba, look at what is happening in the Middle East, that the big societies, the big countries, can decide to cut you off. And if they decide to cut you off, as the Guyanese say, can't eat your dinner.
Yes, we are seeing that happening in Cuba right now. Gentlemen, I want you to just hold it there for me while we take a break. This is Rebel Radio. Let us go for a break.
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, Hardware and Supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super savings summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring and more. At Tools, Hardware and Supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hardware.
Yes, welcome back. Yes, we are talking about the Caribbean development with Jomo Thomas out of St. Vincent and Enrico Woodford out of Guyana. Yes, one of the, Mr. Thomas raised a point about the hotel industry, Sandals. Sandals is a Jamaican entity, as we know, that, and it is the hotel in St. Vincent. And he raised the point about the fact that most of the top positions are held by foreigners. And another thing is that most of the food and drinks used in the hotel there is imported. So there's an issue with Caribbean tourism that most of the money earned by the tourist industry in the Caribbean, and that's billions of dollars, does not stay in the Caribbean. No, it goes out to pay for imports, right? And some of these imports are from companies owned by some of the hotels themselves too. Yes, and there's an issue that we must do more to retain more of the tourism dollars among our people. We must, and that is something that the legislators must, the tourism people must work on. Don't you think, Mr. Thomas?
Well, definitely. You can't give away, because I know there's a problem in Jamaica regarding something as basic as beach access. And a similar thing is happening here in St. Vincent. I've seen people in St. Lucia protesting. Where these hotel chains come in, and ordinary citizens of the country are denied access to their beaches.
Yes.
And politicians' mealy-mouthed utterances that people are not stopped from going to the beach. When people show up, they are confronted by armed guards who tell them this is private property. So, for example, Sandals, the property that Sandals bought, they have since put up private property, no trespassing. And this is one of the better beaches in St. Vincent, where people have been going for millennia.
Yes.
But now they can't go there, or they're being denied access, or access is hindered, simply because this beach is now sold to a private entity, a private foreign entity. And we saw this before, where when they were developing Canawan, which was one of the Grenadine Islands, there's a historic bay in Canawan called Goodall Bay. And these, one of the richest men in the world, a guy named Pinatario, who's said to own like about $19 billion, he built up a resort, exclusive resort there, and the government gave him access to this bay, and people can go there. Or if you try to access it, you have to access it by sea. You can walk onto the land. And it is, I don't see how lands that people have been walking on for decades, for hundreds of years, you now tell them they don't have a right of way, and they have to access it by sea. But I think Enrico Woodford made a very important point having to do with the role of dark money, which influences our politicians and our body politic. Because when we watch the campaigns, we can clearly see that the kind of things that these guys do, the fireworks, the transportation, the foreign artists, nobody knows where that money is coming from. And the old historical saying, he who pays the piper calls the tune remains. And we are just in a bad place, and you don't have anybody. And again, Enrico makes a very important point about what happens when you try to do something else, or you try to offer up a different example, because you have the hegemon in the north who puts pressure on you, in much like they're doing now, the strangulation efforts that they're doing in Cuba, or what they did in Venezuela before invading and decapitating that government by arresting, kidnapping President Maduro. So those are the kind of international pressures we have, and we know that America, being as powerful as it is, can put on the squeeze. They can stop remittances from coming back. They can stop our people from sending barrels, and it could create a monumental problem for these small underdeveloped countries. Yet, I am not one of those persons who say that we should lie down and play dead. I think we have to find ways to do things that are in the best interest of our people.
Yes, we have to do that. Yes. Enrico, in Guyana, you can tell us what is being done to address the situation where of poverty in the country?
Guyana follows an unusual, if not very unorthodox, pattern, because as Mr. Thomas said, he was referring to some of the persons like Walter Rodney and so on. And as much as Walter Rodney fought against the then Forbes Burnham administration, the Forbes Burnham administration was also seen as different, non-aligned, assisting in Cuba, in South Africa when they were fighting apartheid and so on, and that was supported by the Chedi Jagan party, the People's Progressive Party, along with the PNC that was run by Burnham.
Yes.
And what I as a journalist am seeing now is the very People's Progressive Party has departed from Jagan's principles and from the working class aspect of the party. and has moved into the capitalist class. What the opposition in Guyana would be calling, the opposition members are calling friends, families, and family and favorites, where a certain group of people are benefiting as against the working class people in the country. So you just have to look at the CARICOM statement today on Cuba. I was pointing out to my staff and to my fellow journalists, the news is in the last sentence of the statement. Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana reserved their position on this whole idea of Cuba. And that has never happened in the history of the region.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana have always been at the forefront of supporting Cuba because they recognized at that time, and even now, that Cuba was being held because the two Cold War powers had a problem. Now, I agree that Cuba should have free, fair, transparent, credible elections. The people of Cuba should decide who the leadership should be. But I do not believe that any society, the rich, the people who control the tweets and the platform and the influential aspects of getting information out there should also control the information. As a journalist, I find that as an anathema, where free, informed debate is not allowed to take place, but instead there are a whole set of accusations and challenges and charges about fake news and what have you, without getting the real news out there, getting information to the public. And an uninformed public is as ignorant as anybody else. So we need to be informed. We need to have informed positions so that we can make informed decisions and choices. I honestly believe that. And as I said earlier on, what has happened over the last decade or so in this society is the small man is losing control even of his own assets. Ask yourself a question. If you are using plastic, what they like to call, credit cards and debit cards and what have you, and you're moving from a cash economy to a plastic economy, if you want to put it that way. If tomorrow morning, one of the major banks, as instructed by one of the major countries, decides to freeze your assets in the bank, you're in deep trouble. I don't want to use another word here.
Well, I don't know what has happened there. We lost my two guests one time. I don't know what has happened, but I'm trying to get them back. Jomo. Yes, hold it there. I just lost it. I just hold it. Hold it there. Let me try and get back Enrico. Yeah, hold it there for me. Oh yes, I just lost both of you. Enrico, I lost you. Yeah, you are back on the line now. You are making a point, Enrico. Continue.
Desmond.
Yes.
In fact, I was making the point, and the point was demonstrated by you falling out.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody else is controlling the platform on which you are doing business. If they don't like what you have, and they hear something they don't want to hear, they cut you out.
Right.
They throw you off the platform.
Yes.
The same thing with money.
Yes.
The same thing with money. The same thing with petrol or gasoline. You know, the same thing with food. And that was a warning that the Burnham, that Jack, and even Rusty, and all the even an economist like Arthur Lewis. That was the warning Eric Williams and all of them were staying in the region back in the day, that we have to control our own destiny. You know, I always remember, very wealthy family in Guyana, right? I was friends with one of their children, and I asked them what was it that got them into business, and they said, Enrico, business is very simple. You think about what people need to do every day, and you can provide that service. People must eat. People must have a place to live. People must have transportation. You know, people should wear clothes. And this particular family worked on making sure that they provided ingredients in which people could make the type of food, the staples that they need every single day.
Yes.
And our societies have to work on that. You go in, I'm not sure about Mr. I've been to Kanawan, and I know the situation that he's talking about in Kanawan, Mr. Thomas is talking about. But you go into all these hotels, and you see a whole set of foreign food. So much so that I would not be letting the cat out of the bag. That when we were in Kanawan, President Barrett Jagdeo was the head of Guyana's government, right? And President Jagdeo did not like all the pasta and all the fancy, the fancy Italian type resort food that he was getting up at the resort. And he turned to me and said, Enrico, where are you guys eating? And we said, we have contracted a woman down in the village to cook Caribbean food for us. And the president ordered food from that woman and came down into the village to make sure that he eats. Because we don't realize that even the cases of what I call complexion tourism. Depending on how you look, if you look like if you come from the north, you're welcome. Just look at what some of the comments in the earpiece link from Nigeria into Barbados and now into St. Kitts and what have you. All of a sudden, people are afraid of Ebola and afraid of these Nigerians and these Africans coming. But tourism is based on money. It's not based on what it looks like. You know? And therein lies the challenge. You're hearing I'm reading some very derogatory comments. And this is Africa, where the middle class is going to be in the billions by 2030. You're going to have nearly 1 billion people. Am I right? In the middle class. If you don't believe me, Google it. And yet we are more concerned about getting tourists from the north who don't look like any one of us. Well, I don't know what Mr. Thomas looks like. But in terms of complexion. But we have complexion tourism.
There's a picture up there of me. I seem to look like with your complexion. If that's your picture that comes up.
Yes, it is. And therefore, we will not be considered tourists in our own society.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, there are lots of thinking and, what I say, rethinking that needs to be done in order for us to improve the lives of the Caribbean people. Because as all three of us will agree that, yes, we have had systems in place where we change governments in the Caribbean. We have a system where people are allowed to vote. There is freedom of expression. But the basic life of all the Caribbean people, the vast majority of the Caribbean people, needs to be improved. And we have to look at ways that we must embark on now to improve the lives of the people. We must do that. We have new governments. As I said, you have, the government will retain its position in Guyana. I asked that question, you have not answered me, Enrico. I'm asked if you have seen where the government has taken steps to reduce poverty in Guyana. Have you seen that?
Not in a realistic way. They're doing it based on what they think is trickle-down economics, and everybody knows, go back to economics, that does not work in effect, because the money does not necessarily flow, and I think Mr. Thomas was referring to it earlier on. Money does not flow from Sandals down to the people, because yes, you have people who are going to get some gutter contracts and work at a hotel and work here and work there. You have a lot of people working, but are they earning enough to live for the next couple of years? And again, if you were to do the math, most people go through more than $1 million in their lifetime just by being on the earth, living at a particular standard through their life. And I'm talking about the minimum standard. Just do the math. If it takes you $1,000 or let's say $2,000 till a month to live on a daily basis. If you were to live to 70 years old, which is the biblical or otherwise lifespan, it is a lot of money that we would as Guyanese would say, pass through your hand, and it adds up to either $1 million or more than $1 million over that period. And what is it that the Guyana government is doing? The Guyana government is doing what all other governments, I think, in the region are doing, thinking that if you bring in people from the top and you invest at the top, you are going to get, you get hotels done, you get, you have the oil and gas sector, you have people running around with fancy taxis and so on. I come from a different era where I also believe that you need to educate people from the bottom to fit positions and to be innovative, to be artistic, to be creative, and let those people create a society that works for them. And you look at the progressive societies around the world, and all of them work towards letting people be, letting people create for themselves. And those people who are vulnerable, then you assist. You assist the disabled, you assist the vulnerable, you assist those that are poor, and you assist them in a way that allows them to be to be artistic, creative, productive citizens. I always remember Ian MacDonald, who has written the book The Tamarind Tree, and has been a prolific writer in the region and in Guyana in particular, saying to me on a program that when you're poor, you have to be creative.
What, Enrico?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You feel?
Yes, I'm finished at that point.
Okay. All right.
When you're poor, you have to be creative.
Yes. Yes. Mr. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
as you see, now, sir, around the region, from your perspective, what are some of the steps that you think must be taken to impact the lives of our Caribbean people in a more positive way?
Well, you know, it is said that the world has changed, and people who are tinkering with development and transformation are advised to give it up. So we see, for example, in Guyana, the People's Political Party, I am absolutely certain that Chetty Jagan will be turning in his grave.
Yes.
The party that had a radical position, and the party whose leader, Chetty Jagan, was thrown out of power in 1953, because of that radical position, has now said, abandoned all of that, and is now in bed with the government, with the country that overthrew its founding father and leader, Chetty Jagan.
Yes.
And we can look and see the same in Jamaica, where in the Manley era, where the CIA and other retrograde forces moved to disrupt the country's economy, to destroy the country's economy, to impose through the IMF structural adjustment program that had horrible effects on the people. They are now celebrated to the point, as our brother just said, they are now celebrated to the point where they are refusing, abstaining from CARICOM foreign ministers meeting that shows solidarity with Cuba. But both Guyana and Jamaica, under Forbes Bonham and Michael Manley, teamed up with Eric Williams and Errol Barrow in 1972 December to break the American embargo against Cuba, which allowed Cuba that embargo, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, to break. But here they are now lining up with the United States to strangle a fellow Caribbean brother and sister country.
Yes.
Understanding, you know, it is said that ungratefulness is witchcraft.
Yes.
Try to reflect on the kind of assistance in terms of intellectual assistance and training professionals that little Cuba had given to Guyana and Jamaica.
Yes.
Those are the things that we have to understand, and we have to remind our people so that they could see it's almost criminal what these countries are prepared to do out of fear, out of convenience, out of ideological backwardness, whatever it is.
Yes.
So it is said, the Greek historian Thucydides said, the powerful will do what they must, what they can, and the poor will endure what they must.
Yes.
That is to say, we are in the era, we are back in the jungle. And Thucydides is writing 2,400 years ago. We are back in the jungle where powerful countries believe that they can do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
How do countries, poor, resource-starved, well, I can't even say that Guyana is resource-starved, because Guyana has struck oil and has a lot of money, although our brother is telling us that much of that money, our brother Enrico is telling us that much of that money is not coming to the poor and working class because the government of Guyana has locked in to this Reaganite view of trickle-down economics.
Right.
So the hope is that if you raise both, the poor and working people would benefit. But evidently that is not, we have seen that movie time and time again. Yeah. And that does not result in the actual advancement of the people.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, I tell you what, we have to continue this discussion because we are touching on the things which are at the nerve center of the Caribbean, the life of the Caribbean people. But we have exhausted our time for today. I
understand that, though.
Yes, so
all the best to you.
We have to reschedule another round of discussion for this. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Woodford. And as we say on Rebel Radio, to be continued.
Yes. Okay then.
Okay.
Good. Thanks. Goodbye.
Yes. Bye-bye. That was attorney Jomo Thomas of St. Vincent and journalist Enrico Woodford out of Guyana there, and we were talking about the Caribbean people, life of the Caribbean people. Let us take a break. This is Rebel Radio.
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, hardware, and supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super saving summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring, and more. At Tools, hardware, and supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hardware. Separate me from your love, my Jesus. Nothing will be able to turn me away from you. I love you, Father. Anyhow, the afflictions of the righteous, the hearts of men getting more and more vicious. Brutality is on the increase. Tell me, when the love of God sees no power on earth to separate me from love. Love, my Jesus, nothing will be able to turn away from you. I love you, Father. this level of crime only love can eradicate. We must demand justice from the church and the state, and confess to God all our evil ways, and He will give us so much better days when we show love to each and every brother. Love will return to protect mother, daughter, sister. Let's hope in our heart to those who are in need, who never receive love. Come, let's sow some seed. No power on earth to separate me from love. Love my Jesus, nothing will be able to turn me away from you. I love you, Heavenly Father. No power on earth to separate me from love. I love you, my Jesus. Nothing will be able to turn me away from you. No, 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 no power on earth to separate me from you. No power, no, oh no, nothing will be able to turn me away from you. No, no, no power can't even walk, yeah, without you holding my hand. I thought number one would surely be me. I thought I could be what I wanted to be. I thought of myself as a mighty big man, but I can't even walk without you holding my hand. Thank you, Jesus. Can't even walk without you holding my hand. Oh, mountains too high and the valley is too wide. Down on my knees.
Yes, welcome back to Rebel Radio. And you know, today is Wednesday, and this is where we link up with our Caribbean brothers and sisters. Food security. This is where we spend some time looking at what we are doing in agriculture to make it easier for us and to ensure that we are providing food for ourselves. That is an issue that we are faced with in the Caribbean. And I am afraid that not all of us are, more of us are not taking up this issue, not treating this issue seriously, right? And we are in the process here of bringing in our, uniting our Caribbean brothers and sisters into a force, a group that will ensure that we make agriculture a productive and a very good initiative for us all. Yes, you will recall that we are in the process of forming our organization for farmers in the Caribbean, and over the last couple of weeks, we have spent time looking at the Caribbean Farmers Network CAFAN Constitution. We are looking at that Constitution as we select sections of it, or we decide what we are going to choose, what section we are going to choose in order to form our Constitution. We are at a point where membership, I think that is one of the issues that we are detained by that section dealing with membership. Yes, we are at the point where at one point we were saying that in order for us to be a member of this organization, you must be a farmer. Now, there are other points of view that says that, no, you don't have to be a farmer. And also, we should also look at attracting institutions which can bring expertise that we need as farmers to go forward. I am of the view that the organization should, open itself to members who are not farmers. And that we are at one, there are members of this team so far who share that view. There are other members who don't share that view. And we are at the point where we need to iron out this point in order to decide how we should approach it. I know that with those who are present this evening, I think that I know where Sister Maureen shares my view. Brother Stephen and Jones, I think, share the view. Am I right, Stephen? You share the view that we should.
Brother Desmond, I beg to agree with you 100%, very wholeheartedly. What institutions that represent wide bodies of agriculturists, for instance, the Barbados Agricultural Society represent 8 commodity groups, including, I think, one of the latest are those that are producing honey and things like that. And that could bring you a lot more information as an organization than individual farmers. Of course, I welcome individual farmers that can make an input, but organizations like the Barbados Agricultural Society, a large organization out of is Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago primarily, and a few of the smaller islands within the Grenadines now that are producing eggs and chicken. Caribbean Poultry Producers Association. They have a lot of experience. I think they have significant budgets, but if they wanted to apply, I would, even though they are large, I would not be afraid to give them limited influence and limited input at the level of the board, the board that you wish to set up. And while you were doing your introductory comments, I wasn't in the war years, but I heard my grandmother and my uncles who labored in toil in Panama, Cuba, Antigua, and then came back to Barbados, talk about the contribution that these islands made to the war effort. The Second World War in particular, in terms of growing food. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have all of those tractors and irrigation systems, but we did a wonderful job of providing food that went on ships to supply the war effort and feed people in Britain and elsewhere in Europe. We can do a lot. I'm sure it's true. So I am very optimistic about all of this. We're going to have some challenges, especially all farmers in food production that rely on fertilizers in the immediate. But we can go back in those days. When I was assisting my family, we didn't buy a lot of fertilizers from the stores. We were using organic. We were using farm fertilizers. We knew how to cure it long enough that it didn't burn the leaves of the plants and all that. And so there's a lot of education that we very well might have to go back to. And I believe an organization like this can help. Rural Jamaica do a lot of that still. I spent a lot of time in rural Jamaica. I almost own a plantation of pimento in the Duns River area at one time. Okay. So I think that it would be a wonderful experience for us to explore all of that and do not ignore the farmers or organization. Right. In Trinidad, I think Ghana wants to be part now again of this community, and we can look at them. But Jamaica is going to take a big lead in this and kits with onions and all of this. We can do some wonderful work and make a mark. We can make a mark in food security within the whole region. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, right. Jones, you share this view also. Jones? You're not getting through to Jones there. Jones, are you there? I don't know why I'm not hearing you at all. Sister Maureen, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, right. Well, those of us who are present now share the same view. So I recall that just remind me, Sister Maureen, how we had the last meeting, did we take a decision as to how we should proceed on this matter? I don't remember. You remember?
I'm sorry, 1 second. But that's when I asked him, Mr. Jones, phone like that a couple of times. You want him again?
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You share our view on the as it relates to the membership of the organization, that you don't necessarily have to be a farmer to be a member of our organization. Don't you share that view?
Well, a person may not be a farmer, but he has to be a friend of the farming community.
Yes.
Well, yes, but also I want you to look at institutions themselves. There are institutions which are not, you would say that they are representing the interests of farmers, because but they are not, you are saying, not on the field, right? We should open up ourselves for them to be members of our organization also. Don't you share that view?
Well, put it this way. We may have institutions that may do research in farming and things like that. In that way, I wouldn't be against them being members. Because terms of research and development, it's a lot for us. We're going to need, we not only need the practical people, but we also need those who have the ability for research and development.
Yeah, right.
So I see a trust there.
Okay, all right.
I agree.
I was.
But obviously, Brother Desmond, before you go back to Maureen, I'd like to come in here. It is not an automatic. I think the association, it is not automatic that you send in an application automatically you accept it. There will be a committee that will examine what you are bringing to the association, and therefore, if you qualify, on the basis of if you qualify, there might be financial groups that want to come in and say they have an interest in agriculture. But what the financial groupings might want is a financial influence on what we are doing. You understand? And you know, so you know, I think with you, Brother Desmond and others here, and Resi, is that we can determine that, and you know, big business, once you establish, big business want to be part of you. They want to be able to influence you. They want to be part of your state. So you have to be always vigilant about things like that, because it would be a farming society that want to look after the long-term interests of farmers and the countries that are participating.
Certainly. Sister Maureen, the last meeting, did we take any decision as to how we should proceed? I remember that we discussed the idea that the way the meetings are operating now, that we don't have all members present at one time. So, I can remember the last meeting that we had the two members who were more vocal on the whole question of membership. They were present last meeting, but they are not present this evening. Now, is there how we should proceed going forward?
In soon as we need to establish and I don't know. Nowadays I notice that there is a real lack as it relates to volunteerism and taking time out to do so. Yeah. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I find that people are not quick to volunteer or to join organizations that are for volunteer. See?
Sister Maureen.
I clearly understand the sentiment. I understand the sentiment of the speaker. I just wanted to ask you, Brother Desmond. You know, and let me apologize for Mr. Paul. Paul is having a very, you know, I spoke to him, was able to talk to him twice today. He's aware of the meeting. He is, you know, managing all those commodity groups. You know, he's also a politician. He had a general election recently, had the campaign and offer himself for elections and all that. But he's under a lot of pressure within the commodity groups, within that, the Ministry of Agriculture and Cardi and other institutions making heavy demand. And he's also visiting schools to try to inspire the young students to be active and look at agriculture as an alternative, even for the very bright ones.
Yes.
Going forward. So I beg to apologize for him, but I do agree that we I wanted to ask you about the member from Bahamas. It was Bahamas, I think. That was in earlier. He was making some good contributions and looking at the linkages with us and tourism and food for local and tourism. I don't recall it. I don't have my notebook with me right now because I'm on the farm, you know. And I am sure that you recall him because he was making some very valuable contributions at that time.
He's still a member of this group, you know. The only thing that he's not.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still a member. Yeah.
Right. Lovely.
Yes, he's still a member. But the other thing that we should look at. Well, Sister Maureen is there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Sister Maureen, the other thing that we should look at is that, remember that we looked at, we come down to member, we were talking about fees. And there was,
Sorry, but just before you go to that, Desmond, right? Because it looks like we're just getting this thing piece. But let me just check, since we have Stephen on the phone and we have Jones on the phone. The other part of that issue, so one issue was whether you could have non-direct farmers association belonging to it. And both Stephen and Jones have said, yes, they agree with that once there's a process. You know, they apply and they're assessed, etc. But the other question was whether you can have individual members and not just associations, not just, you can have an individual farmer and not only farmers association. So can we get the position of Stephen and Jones on that?
I believe that associations that represent farming groups or interest in farming, we can look at them and vet and
no, Stephen, I'm talking about the individual farmer.
Yeah, but I'm going to come to that. But the individual farmer, certainly, if they have the capacity and the ability to make a financial contribution, would be more than welcome. I'm not sure what would be the asking at this time, but certainly they would bring a lot of value and to what we're trying to achieve going forward. So I do agree with you, and I'm pretty optimistic that we can go that route as well, man.
Okay.
Jones, what is your take on it?
I agree with that position. You know, we should try to encourage farmers as much as possible. And somebody may not. We have to have. Well, I said sponsor. I said friends before, but maybe it's further than that. It would be sponsors. You know, people who will farm and allowance that sometimes, because we're going to need, and I'm sure we're going to need some financial backing and help. And we have those who are maybe not farmers, but they have resources, and they deal with resources for farming that we could look at.
Okay. Yes, Sister Maureen, I was making the point that we had discussed this, but we need to refine the whole question of the fee, because I thought we had suggested the thing of 1,500.
500 US.
500 US as a fee. Somebody raised the point. What about if in organizations, if it's the same, they would be asked to pay the same 500 or higher fee. And there was a concern about having two set of fees for the organization. And I was of the view that we should have we should set one fee, whether it be $10 or $20, whatever it is. That is the fee for both individuals and organizations. Everybody in agreement with
that? I think we need to be cautious. I might have spent a lot of time around lawyers, and I worked for over 30 years at Parliament where they say that they're the highest lawmakers. Sometimes you come out there more confused, in fact, about law than when you went in. But the reality of it is that we may need some advice. We may need some advice, legal advice on that, how we care to that. But I like what you were saying with a standard fee. There's some organization that might want to join. There's a group here called Chipmunk. They're extremely large, probably doing about $20 or $30 million every year, and they have linkages with Jamaica Boiler Association. Very big, and that even even doing more than that, because they have their own breeder farms and hatcheries and feed plants and all that. In fact, they just bought a feed plant in Barbados a couple of years ago, which I'm very supportive of and assisting them with that. But the legality of it is that you must appear to be fair across the board, even though you want to maximize. If you're going to set up a secretariat, initially it might be at your office, Mr. Desmond, but there's still costs associated with it, paper, computer power, and everything like that. So we have to look at that and be fair across the board. It might not be possible to maximize in one area and then fall short in another. I don't know. That is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Without a clear legal understanding. That is just my opinion right now.
Let us hold it, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think so.
Just hold on there. Let us take a break. We are going to take a break. This is Rebel Radio. Let us take a break.
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, Hardware and Supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super saving summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring and more. At Tools, Hardware and Supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hard
Yes, welcome back to Rebel Radio. Yes, and we are discussing food security. And this time we are looking at how we organize our organization, how we formalize it. Yes. Sister Maureen, what you think? You don't think we should standardize the fee structure?
I guess my only concern would be like for like a small farmer, unless we're not going to have any of those, is whether they would be able to afford the fee or not. That would be my question, my concern. And I think the way I mean, we don't want it to be too complex, but you might want to put something, the fee might be with respect to acreage or output or something like that to determine that, because that goes back to one of the fundamental questions we were asking. Can an individual farmer join? So if you have a small farmer who is cultivating 10 acres, and he's a member, can he afford $500? You know, $500 US, and that might be it could be a real challenge for such a farmer. So that would be my that would be my concern or question with respect to a flat fee across the board. Whereas if you have a farmers association that has 20, 30, 40 farmers in it, and they're paying the same fee as a farmer, then an individual farmer, then I guess one thing would happen is that perhaps the individual farmer would just say, well, maybe the best thing is for me to be part of this association, farmers association, to get the same benefit without having to shell out as much money, you know. So maybe in a way it would encourage farmers to belong to association, which for some persons, some of the members here believe very strongly that we should not have individual members. It should only be farmers associations. So there is the potential bind.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we would like to do, we would want our organization to be open to all farmers in the Caribbean who are willing to be members. But they have to understand that the organization will require some funds in order to operate. And therefore, we're saying to them that in order for you to be a farmer, to be a member, you must pay a fee of $500 US. And I am suggesting that the members look into that, whether or not we can go below $500 US in order to accommodate a member. As Sister Maureen says, that it might influence individuals to join up with organizations in order to be a member. Well, if that be the case, not a problem. But then we have to...
That's a positive.
Yes. But then I am suggesting that we should have a minimum of, for which we say...
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Well, as it relates to members, I'm asking the fact that all of us are not present at one time in order for us to take a final decision then on how we approach this. How we should approach the question of the membership fee. Not the membership fee, the membership. How we should approach it.
Yes. And I think that what it does when that you can do that, because all of our members are here today, and so you might want to send through either WhatsApp or WhatsApp is a good medium and fast. A response on that question, you might want to draft a very short message on the matter and give them some option, maybe where they can vote a yea or nay, or then another comment that they can put in, because I know that the significant amount of persons, I don't know what they're doing now today, and I do know I've been very busy too, that might we want to make an input so that we can have a very comprehensive view on this very important matter. The Barbados Agricultural Society have a regime in place with all the commodity groups. Some of them are 100, some of them are $200. I am president and chair of the Egg and Poultry Association. But mine was $500 annually. $5 Barbados dollars annually. And everybody thought that was an insult. The reality, though, of it, that I had significant numbers of persons making that contribution. The large companies that hire 200 and 300 persons that want to come in, I made it clear that they weren't coming in as a group, but as individuals. They would still have to pay $5 each, individually, who want to be part of it. I might have to change that, but we could afford that, because at the same time we had arranged that every egg that came in, either for hatching, every egg that came in for hatching, either for broilers or layers, they will pay a 2% cess on each egg. And we were doing at that time 11 to 12 million eggs a year. So it was a small amount, but it was bringing revenue to run our organization. So the ways that you can look at dealing with the finances of our organization according to the grouping. I know in Jamaica, I have a good friend there in Gordon Town, on the road going up to Mavis Bank, that only on about an acre land, but does excellent with orchids. But professionally, she loves agriculture, but she is a geologist. And she works either for the cement company off the airport road there in Kingston, but her main job is with bauxite, But she's still doing a wonderful business with some of the most beautiful orchids. I see them all the time still on YouTube, on Facebook and things like that, and people are responding to that. I think that is a wonderful opportunity for her to develop that business and make it big. Jamaica's grow some of the best orchids I've ever seen anywhere in the world.
Yeah, understood. You raised a point a while ago. I think we should expand it amongst us. For example, if we decide that it's 500 US is the entrance fee, what it means is that an organized, let us say then, like the JAS, the Jamaica Agricultural Society, or the Barbados Agricultural Society, which has its members. What it means, therefore, is the Barbados Agricultural Society with 300 members will pay 500. We are not asking individual Barbados farmers who are members of the society to pay $500 each. It will be the organization paying $500 for membership. Am I correct? Everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I mean that's a logical way of looking at it. But the whole idea is that you're still trying to generate revenue for a secretariat to to be able to respond to farmers' needs. If suppose a commodity group want you to get source hives for them or guide them in that direction, a secretariat needs to be able to do those things. So I think that we need to really have the intrusive response to the wider membership before we make a final decision on that.
Okay, all right. Because one of the things that we have to look at the fact that we must have a secretary, well, at least, well, let us have a secretary at this, but then the organization have to be housed somewhere. And that will require us, we're going to take some expenses to run that operation. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are going to be expenses related to the organization. Definitely. In terms of, a space, in terms of paying, as he was just, Stephen, I think was just saying, in terms of a secretariat, mailing, following up on certain things. So yes, there are definitely expenses that are going to be incurred, and those would need to be paid out of the membership fees, unless we get some other form of funding and support.
But what other form of funding are we looking at?
No, I wasn't looking at. I didn't think about any, but I'm just saying, if we got a grant like from the World Bank to look at some specific aspect of a project that we're trying to work on for all the farmers, maybe you get some support on that. But outside of that, the funding is basically going to be membership fees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And
especially for membership fees, especially for day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
If I could come in, I think the membership fee will always be low. And I am using the JS as a marker.
Yes.
The membership fee cannot cover the Denby show on a yearly basis. Because the Denby show runs between 8 to 10 million.
Yes.
And the farmer, the individual farmer, pays $500 for the year. But one thing is happening is that the Denby show attracts a lot of sponsors. Sponsors in the agriculture field and stuff.
Yeah.
Jamaica Boilers is the number one. And they always come on board to get that number one slot. And then you have other agricultural and industrial players who come in. So the Jays don't make anything off the membership fee, but they make it off the corporate Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Sponsors.
Who come, yes, as sponsors. So we have to look at it, and in any organization like this, membership fee wouldn't be able to carry us on an everyday basis, because we would have to. I think we have to look at the secretariat, location, rent, utilities, and other things like that. Now, at that fee that we are proposing, can meet the business. So we have to look into it in depth.
We won't be able to you have provided us with some solid information there, Mr. Jones, but in my head, I don't look, I don't think the membership fee will be able to provide us with the funding that is going to require to run our organization. And in my head, I haven't said it, but we have to be looking at how we plan to fund the organization. What are some of the ways that we can think of? Because early, at the start, we can, you know, we are just on a kid on the block. So we have to think of how we are going to fund our organization going forward.
So I believe of the ways that you can do that. I know you might have to get some help in terms of instructing us how to pursue this, or Mr. Paul have experience with it. But there is a provision within government for ventures like this to give a subvention to an organization that could go a long way. You know how governments pay in the Caribbean, they pay when it suits them and that sort of thing. But you can expect a subvention from government to assist with an agricultural group like this. It would be an option that you want to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. I agree with that because is a crashing arm of the government in terms of subvention, and that in as much as they encourage membership fee, but the subvention and taking care of the workers, their deductions and things like that, the government gives a subvention that pays in this way.
Yes.
But would we want, the question we need to ask, would we want this? One, and two, can we afford membership alone to carry the burden?
Mm-hmm.
It is something that we have to think of very in depth.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we don't think membership fee alone can carry it at all. Sorry. That is where I think all three of us agree on that membership fee alone won't be able to finance the organization. So we will have to find other ways to finance the organization. Yes.
Mr. Desmond, let me say, though, we have kept our independence within the Barbados Agriculture Society. Even though, politicians will always want to influence you, and sometimes when you have to criticize their programs or lack of programs, there is a response to a little vex. A good Caribbean word, there's a little vexness on their behalf, and they might delay the transactions with you. But anything like that, you have to be absolutely clear and make government assistance very clear that they are offering assistance to the wider farming community. And once you place them in that and make them commit to assist the national interest of food security, that they can contribute to. You're either doing things for bees or organic matters and things like that. But politicians always want something, and you have to let them know that this is not a free thing, that is their part of their contribution to the agriculture within the countries.
Yes. Yeah, yes, I am in agreement with that. I think that is important. Yes. But, well, what we are going to do, arising out of this meeting, is that I am going to draft a message to all the members for them to comment and to direct us, comment on how we proceed with the membership position, that we can get it clarified once and for all. There are two positions. One is that there's one school of thought that the membership should be confined to farmers only, and the other position is that it should be opened to both farmers and non-farmers. And we want them to, we are going to send this message to everybody, for everybody to comment on it, and then finally give you a final position, which we will decide to this, will take us forward as to how we approach this question of membership.
Well, just one question now. You know, sometimes I know it's your word of non-farmers. The reality of it, though, that sometimes the non-farmers make more money out of the operation of creating food than the farmers.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
But Desmond, remember there are two things you're going to put before them, right? One is the one you just mentioned, and then the second one is whether individual farmers or only farmers association, right? Because that's the other big issue. I'm forgetting his name. He's not on the call now, but I know that's a big point for him.
Yeah, you mean
Shiraz. Shiraz.
Yes.
So that's the other question. Can individual farmers join, or only farmers association? Associations.
Yeah.
Very good observation, Maureen. But there's some large farmers that are not part of association. Deliberately, they might want it that way because they want to be fairly, they want to have full control of what they do without any influences or interference.
Yes,
and therefore, yes, I believe that opportunity should be there for them to join as well.
I agree with you totally, Stephen.
Well, I am going to draft it and circulate it among our members, and see and tell them that we want, give them a time for them to look over it and respond to that for us, so that we can move forward. The other thing is that I have put out some searches in Guyana and Suriname, trying to contact farmers, to make contact with farmers in those two countries. I'm awaiting responses. So far I got one response, which I have been calling for about 2 weeks now, and no response, no answer, right? But again, I am saying that if you know have any contacts in any one of the countries where farmers, we want to make contact with as many farmers as possible, so you can just alert us and let us make contact with them and get them to be part of us, right? Try and remember that. Well, we have exhausted our time this week. So I want to thank you all for joining, and as indicated that I am going to, over this, before this weekend, I'm going to circulate the message that we have decided on, to that all of us can make a decision. I thank you very much, Maureen. Thank you, Jones. Thank you, Stephen. And
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay.
have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes, have a good
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yes. That was food security. Yes. You know, on a Wednesday, we spend time between 4 and 5 looking at how we can improve Caribbean agriculture. At the moment, we are working on a program to set up an organization representing our farmers. So that's what we're working on right now. This is Rebel Radio. Let us take a break.
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, hardware, and supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super saving summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring, and more. At Tools, hardware, and supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hardware.
Imagine a world where information is power, where news meets insight. This is Eyes on the World, your personal lens. We are watching with you. Stay informed, stay curious, get the world's stories reported to you. Eyes on the World, your perspective.
Yes, it's time for your program, Eyes on the World. Yes, and this is where we take time to show you some of what is happening around the world. Yes, the world is a troubled place. Let's look at some of what has been happening around the world.
The tensions, in fact, escalated in Nepal's parliament after the opposition and the ruling party lawmakers engaged in a verbal spat over the absence of Prime Minister Balendra Shah from the House proceedings. The clashes escalated on Tuesday after the ruling Rashtriya Swatantrata Party lawmaker Jagdish Kharal described the ongoing obstruction by the opposition as a drama. Following his remarks, Nepali Congress lawmaker Narendra Kumar became visibly enraged and moved towards the front of the chamber, pointing fingers at Kharal and shouting in protest. The opposition lawmakers were furious over Kharal's aggressive remarks and his criticism of the opposition protests. The Nepali Congress chief Basanta Thapa also accused Prime Minister Balen Shah of moving ahead with what she described as the arrogance of the majority. The Thapa claimed that the government had failed to make Parliament and parliamentary committees effective. And the opposition lawmakers have accused Balendra Shah of avoiding parliamentary accountability, noting that he has not appeared in the House since leaving during the President's presentation of the government's policies and programs. The House Speaker, Dol Prasad Ariel, has assured that Prime Minister Balendra Shah is preparing to appear in the Parliament and respond to the issues. However, he did not mention a specific date or time for the event. And our correspondent Saloni Murarka has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report from Kathmandu. Listen in.
Political tensions continue to escalate inside Nepal's parliament as opposition parties protest over Prime Minister Balendra Shah's absence in the House. This protest has entered its third week. During the last House proceedings, there were heated exchanges between the ruling lawmakers and opposition lawmakers, disrupting the House proceedings and deepening the ongoing deadlock. The opposition parties accused Prime Minister Shah of avoiding parliamentary accountability after he failed to appear in the House following President's address on the government's policies and programs. The Speaker of the House, however, has said that the Prime Minister will soon address the concerns raised by the lawmakers in the House, but no fixed timeline has been announced yet. And sources told WION that Prime Minister Balendra will address the House within this week, during which he will talk about Nepal government's foreign affairs and domestic affairs. I'm Saloni Murarka, reporting for WION from Kathmandu, Nepal.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Against the backdrop of a fragile ceasefire, Iran claims it shot down a U.S. Reaper drone following the U.S. military launching self-defense strikes on Iran. Now, Iran's supreme leader warned in a statement airing on Iranian state television other Gulf nations should no longer serve as shields for American bases. So let's go live to Eric Loeb. He's an associate professor of politics and international relations at Florida International University, or FIU, as I knew it when I lived in Miami. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have not seen the Supreme Leader. There's a lot of speculation about whether he's even able to lead. So will these other Gulf states heed that warning that was posted and broadcast about not aiding the U.S.?
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. I think that the Arab Gulf states are quite concerned about this latest escalation, given that they've been on the front lines of this war since it started back in February 3 months ago, and that they've sustained heavy damage to their energy and civilian infrastructure by Iranian missiles and drones, and do not want to see that happen again since the ceasefire in early April. And so as these events are unfolding, they're listening to these statements regardless of the health of the Supreme Leader. And we are seeing that there is diplomatic activity to try to de-escalate tensions in Qatar and other Arab Gulf states and move towards this 60-day framework agreement that's being discussed between the United States and Iran.
We're also seeing the dance. The Trump administration signals that things are on the rails, going well, that they look to be optimistic for a good deal or no deal. We've heard that from the president and from Marco Rubio. And yet it seems like we're not advancing, at least in any measurable way that we can see as the American public. What is, in your mind, the red line for a holdup and not getting this deal signed, sealed, and delivered?
Well, these negotiations revolve around a series of issues, starting with the reopening, of course, of the Strait of Hormuz and the lifting of the U.S. blockade in exchange for that. Also, the U.S. trying to gain clarity on whether Iran is willing to make concessions on its nuclear program. And when you listen and read the statements by President Trump and other officials like Secretary of State Rubio, one of the reasons perhaps for this most recent escalation is that they were dissatisfied with the Iranians committing to shipping their stockpile of highly enriched uranium outside their borders to the United States or to the international community.
All right, so let's look at something that has been said to be a sticking point for Iran, and that is Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Of course, we know that Israel would very much like to not have to be fighting them over that border. How much of a say does Israel have to say, and do they have any sort of influence over the Trump administration, especially as it pertains to Hezbollah?
Well, I think they certainly do have some influence. And as these negotiations are transpiring, we're seeing communications directly between President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over these negotiations, briefing each other on their positions. And, we have to see where Israel stands on this. But most recently, they're saying that if this deal does not allow for Israel to have freedom of action in Lebanon against Hezbollah, then this will not be supported by Israel. And the Iranians on their side are saying that this deal, or at least the framework memorandum of understanding, must be tied to a ceasefire, not just between the United States and Iran, but also between Israel and Hezbollah and Lebanon.
Well, Professor, we thank you so much, Professor Eric Loeb. We appreciate you. We hope to see you back here on CBS News 24/7.
Meanwhile, tensions in West Asia continue to persist despite ongoing diplomatic negotiations. Now, Iran has accused the United States of violating an already fragile ceasefire and warns that it is ready to retaliate after the U.S. hit Iranian targets in what is described as self-defense strikes. Now, describing the U.S. action as a gross violation of the ceasefire, Iranian Foreign Ministry says the country will not leave any evil unanswered, as the statement pointed to the strikes in southern Iran. Iran did not immediately confirm the reported strikes, but the country's state media reported that explosions were heard in Bandar Abbas city near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Mehr news agency said that the situation in the city was under control and that there was no cause for concern. The overnight U.S. strikes targeted Iranian missile sites and mine-laying boat in south of Iran. The renewed U.S. strikes, they come at a time when Washington and Tehran struggle to reach a potential peace agreement. As the security situation continues to evolve, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei says the U.S. is losing its influence in West Asia. And he has warned that the countries in the region do not host U.S. bases. In a written statement, Iran's Supreme Leader said, "The hands of time will not turn backwards, and the nations and lands of the region will no longer serve as shields for American bases." The statement added that Washington will no longer have any safe point in the region for aggression or establishment of military bases. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian hailed the Iranian military's response against U.S. strikes. Listen to this.
They did not imagine that our armed forces, our defensive power and our offensive system could perform such feats. It was a completely surprising matter for all of them.
Well, China has also urged both sides to respect the ongoing truce and resolve the dispute peacefully.
We urge the parties concerned to fulfill their ceasefire commitments, resolve disputes through peaceful means, continue to work toward a solution that takes into account the legitimate concerns of all parties through dialogue and negotiation, and promote the early restoration of peace in the Middle East and Gulf region.
Reacting to the U.S. military strikes on Iran, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open, and he asserted that the U.S. would ensure its reopening one way or another. Now, Rubio also expressed optimism about reaching an agreement with Iran. Listen to this.
And it's going to take a couple days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word, sentence. So we'll have to work through that. If there's going to be a deal, we're going to have to work through that. But this is, it's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be one.
As peace deal talks remain underway, Trump has demanded a resolution to the issue of enriched uranium inside Iran, which has been a key sticking point. Trump on his Truth Social network said that he expected Iran to hand over its enriched uranium to the United States to be destroyed or have it destroyed in Iran with an international witness.
Let's head to South Africa now. After a pause of 2 weeks, Ghana is set to evacuate around 300 of its citizens from South Africa as fears grow following an ongoing anti-immigrant march that has heightened tensions in parts of the country. The anti-immigrant march, driven largely by grievances over unemployment and crime, has forced some businesses to close and slowed economic activity in affected areas. According to community leaders and even diplomats.
Dozens of foreign nationals sought refuge at a church center in South Africa's eastern city of Durban, as mobs of locals stepped up a weeks-long campaign against undocumented migrants. Small but vocal anti-migrant protests have picked up across the country in recent weeks, with one Durban-based group telling undocumented foreign nationals to leave the country by June 30th. About 250 people, mostly women and children, gathered behind the gates of the Diaconia Council of Churches, building in Durban's city center, some saying they feared for their safety after a campaign of harassment and threats.
I'm a shoemaker, so the situation where I used to be at my workplace, they came and chased me by this organization from South African. They came and chased me, so for now, nothing to do because now the way I can survive with my family is too difficult.
Durban, a major port city and economic hub, has been a flashpoint for xenophobic violence with organized groups targeting foreign nationals under different banners. The March and March group, fronted by men in traditional Zulu dress and carrying shields and sticks, has told undocumented migrants to leave by June 30th, accusing them of being involved in crime. Its demand has no legal weight and is not backed by the authorities, but has raised alarm among migrants, with disinformation spread on social media fueling tensions. Many of the people gathered at the church center said they had been hounded in their homes, particularly in townships and informal settlements, by vigilantes moving door to door delivering threats.
This is destiny. You know, I never wish it's coming to South Africa. I working like a slave. I never wish. This is God. He write it.
Why the government, they keep quiet like this for so long? We are dying. We are dying. Huh? We go to hospital. They don't allow us to enter.
South Africa's government tried to downplay the issue by saying African nations must address the instability causing illegal migration instead of labeling recent protests against migration as xenophobic, after countries such as Nigeria and Ghana voiced concern following a series of anti-migrant protests in Africa's most industrialized country in recent weeks.
The issue of immigration is a pressure point, not only here in South Africa, but throughout the world, where protests are held on these issues. The condemnations that we've had coming from the different quarters on the continent should not just end in condemnations, but there should also be willingness to constructively engage on what are these issues and factors behind people seeking to leave their countries of birth.
Yes. Welcome back to Rebel Radio. Yes. And we're just showing you some of what has been happening around the world. Yes. Right here in the Caribbean, we have an issue now, and we are going to turn our attention to the U.S. policies towards Cuba. Yes. And we know that America has threatened, well, you know, America has a blockade on Cuba since 1959, 1960. And right now it has tightened that blockade. Cuba is now out of oil, food, supplies, transportation, health facilities are being affected. I have with me Ambassador David Comisang, and we are going to talk about American policies on Cuba. Good evening, Ambassador. How are you?
Good evening, Desmond. I am pretty good. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Ambassador, the situation is deteriorating in Cuba, and America is tightening the screws. Now, what do you make of the situation?
Yes, you are right. It is a very serious situation, a dire situation, but the Cuban people are a very strong and resourceful and determined people, and so they're holding the fort. They're doing their best in very difficult circumstances. But it is important that certainly Caribbean countries, and I would say all right-thinking countries around the world, need to come to the assistance and support of Cuba. We need to make donations of material items to help the Cubans. And we also need to make, our governments need to make political statements, denouncing what is being done to Cuba and standing in solidarity with Cuba. And this is extremely, extremely important, because we simply cannot afford to let Donald Trump and American imperialism win, prevail over Cuba. Because if they prevail over Cuba, it will set such a dangerous precedent. President Trump has said he can take Cuba whenever he wants. Well, if that turns out to be correct, if he simply is able to take Cuba, to collapse the whole regime in Cuba and impose American will on Cuba, what does that say for other countries? And so I would argue that people and statesmen who are thinking soberly about this matter should recognize that it is important that Mr. Trump not win and that Cuba prevails, because by so doing, we will be helping ourselves. We will be helping ourselves. We will be averting a danger that could very well come our way.
Yes, of course. Well, as you know, Ambassador, Cuba is facing an oil crisis right now. The last time the Russians sent in a shipment of oil, but the latest report, based on the latest report, is as if that oil has finished now. And do you know, Ambassador, how we can get, what can be done to assist the people with oil?
Yes, well, I don't know that I have the answer. Russia has demonstrated that it is committed to defying the United States and defying Trump's threat that any country that provides Cuba with oil, fuel, will be hit with punishing tariffs on their goods, that they export to the United States. Russia has shown that it is not intimidated by that, and it is prepared to provide Cuba with oil. But you're quite correct. Only since January, the end of January, only one Russian vessel has managed to reach Cuba and to deliver the oil. And apparently, it is not easy. It is not easy for Russian vessels to make that journey to Cuba to deliver the oil, because they have to go through different ports. Yes. And if those countries are not cooperating with them, if those countries are intimidated by the Americans, it makes it extremely difficult. My hope, Desmond, would be that Mexico, which traditionally, Cuba used to get much of its energy from Venezuela, also Mexico in our region. Venezuela has been, we don't know exactly what word to use, but the Americans have taken some control over Venezuela. So Venezuela will not be a supplier. But hopefully Mexico can, rise up to the challenge of defying Trump and delivering oil. The Chinese while not delivering oil, the Chinese have been helping Cuba with renewable energy apparatus. So Cuba is moving as quickly as it can to find alternatives to fossil fuels. You know, solar energy and other wind energy and other forms of renewable energy, and the Chinese have been helping them with that. So you know, it is Cuba really needs countries to step up and defy the United States and help them with injections of fuel. You know, we can only urge countries to do the right thing and to look at the bigger picture. Not because, you know, not to be so intimidated by the United States that you kowtow to the United States, because by acting in that way, you're really creating a very, very dangerous situation for yourselves as well.
Yes, of course.
You know,
and Cuba, apart from the oil, Cuba can also do with some aid in terms of food, because the fuel situation is impacting negatively. Ambassador, I see where Guyana and Trinidad have remained, you know, have weakened the CARICOM's position on Cuba. But what do you think CARICOM can do? Don't you think we can the governments could mobilize some food supplies, if you know, whatever supplies it can, to assist the Cuban people?
yes, of course. I am saying that governments, countries need to do both things. They need to come to the assistance of Cuba by donating material items. Of course, the greatest donation that could be made is of energy, fuel. But in addition to energy, food items, medical items, you know, the whole range of items that the Cuban people need now, because of the very deleterious effect that the U.S. sanctions have had on Cuba. So yes, the biggest impact has been the oil, but in addition to the oil, there are all the other sanctions that have made it very difficult for Cuba to acquire all kinds of items. So CARICOM is making an effort. I can tell you that there's an effort in CARICOM for the governments to contribute funds, money that will be funneled through the CARICOM Secretariat and will be funneled to Mexico, where the items will be purchased in Mexico and will be transported by the government of Mexico to Cuba. And I can tell you that the Barbados government, we made a contribution of 500,000 Barbados dollars. That would be 250,000 United States dollars at the beginning of April, and I was informed just today and Barbados has indicated that it wishes that money to go to purchase food items in Cuba, milk powder for infants and so forth, plus other food items. And I was informed today that shipment will arrive in Cuba on the 10th of June.
Right.
So I think Barbados probably made the first donation, but I believe other CARICOM countries have since made financial donations to that program as well. So that is happening, and the whole idea is that once we get that system working, where we are able to purchase the goods in Mexico, and Mexico transports them to Cuba. That will not be a one-off donation. CARICOM countries, governments will, in the months ahead, will all make repeated donations to Cuba. So that's that. The other thing that we did just last week, we had the meeting of the CARICOM foreign ministers in Suriname last week. Out of that meeting, we issued a statement, a very strong statement in support of Cuba, a strong statement that denounces the fuel embargo, denounces the 60-something-year-old blockade, denounces the threat of military attack against Cuba, makes the point that our region is a zone of peace and that there is no justification for any attack on Cuba. So it was a very strong statement. But as you correctly indicated, there were two countries that disassociated themselves from that statement. That's Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. And both of these countries are members of this new coalition that Trump put together called the Shield of the Americas. You know, so anyhow, I mean, it's unfortunate. It has broken the CARICOM unanimity, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. The statement is still a very strong statement, even if it is not the statement of all 14 full independent member states of CARICOM. It is still the state 12 of the 14 full independent member states.
Yes. Well, Ambassador, I want to thank you very much this evening for your time. I want us to continue with this emphasis and to focus on what we can do to assist the people of Cuba. But so far this evening, I want to thank you very much for your time, Ambassador. And
I want to thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you for taking that interest. I want to stress again that all of us must now do whatever we can.
Yes.
We, as Caribbean people, we must get involved in putting together these collections and donations. So the government can make the donations, but the people can also come together in civil society and support the donations to Cuba. And we must spread the word that every right-thinking country in the world must, in their own self-interest, support Cuba to ensure that Mr. Trump does not win this battle.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, my brother.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Yes, that was Ambassador David Comison there. And that's where we end Eyes on the World this afternoon. Yes, we want to thank all our viewers and listeners, and we want you to keep your eyes open on what is happening around you. This is Eyes on the World.
Imagine a world where information is power, where news meets insight. This is Eyes on the World, your personal lens. We are watching with you. Stay informed, stay curious, get the world's stories reported to you. Eyes on the World, your perspective.
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, hardware, and supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super saving summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring, and more. At Tools, hardware, and supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hard Hills.
Yes, there's words of the icon Eric Donaldson, Mr. Festival. This is the land of my birth, the land of many greats in the world of sports and entertainment right here in Jamaica. I don't have to go through them now because there's not much time. Let us get into one of the topics that's dominating sports. You know, the World Cup are just some weeks away, and you know, teams are fine-tuning and looking forward to, you know, getting it underway despite what's happening presently in the USA. Yes, it is being said that the Iranian team that is to play all their match in the United States. It is good to understand that the Trump administration won't allow them to reside in America while their games are being played in the USA. So the president of Mexico took the initiative to welcome the Iranian team to dwell there and play their match in the USA, not leaving them stranded. So that's what's happening with the Iranian team, who is set to take part in the World Cup despite what's happening between the two countries that's taking place in the Middle East. So it's all systems go, but it is left to be seen what will be the support on the ground in America for these matches with all these countries, especially those who are under high alert on the immigration when it comes to visiting America. We don't know what the fans, many fans say that they'll be staying away. We'll have to just wait and see what's coming. Okay, that's so far for the World Cup. You know, it's Knicks is awaiting onto some basketball. The New York Knicks are waiting to see who they will play in the NBA Finals. There's a game still going on between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunders, and OKC leads that series by 3-2 over the San Antonio Spurs, with a game last night 127-114. OKC have won that, taking a 3-2 lead, going back to San Antonio for game 6, which will be on Thursday in San Antonio, and that game starts at 7 7:30 p.m. on Thursday in San Antonio if they can force a Game 7 there. So that's left to be seen. All right, and of course on the weekend everybody is talking about that match between PSG and Arsenal. That is the Champions League that's coming up. All right. Also coming up this Sunday, the Domino League. That is the Portmore St. Catherine Domino League. The final will be between Caribbean Classic and One Blood. It's going to be a very tough match. But when you look at both teams, it's One Blood and Caribbean Classic, you can see that One Blood have a very formidable team. They got the better of Bull Bay by 16 in that semi-final. Yes, and going to be a very touching game. We can get some expertise there from, of course, Mr. Gerald Stevens can tell us more on what to expect come can tell us what to expect come this Sunday, the 31st of May. Let us see if we can get in touch with, of course, Mr. Gerald Stevens, of the president of the Jamaica Domino Federation.
To make it your tune.
I know what the people is a big party, a big party, a big party. All I want the people is a big party, big party, a big party. We don't make in a constant pray. We set to rub me in a. All I want the people is a lover.
You have been redirected.
Okay, not getting Mr. Stevens there. All right, we're gonna have to get back to him on that he can give us more on the finals that's coming up in this domino final between Bull Bay and One Blood, Portmore League final. All right, get into some music. You know that it's coming up also this Sunday. It's Buddha. Let's see about this one from Buddha.
Well, all massive and all crew, some Manchester, we say Galchester. It's here again when Buddha present a morning chill call, One Love, at Victoria Town, Manchester, on the 31st of May, featuring domino games all day and all night. Music by Laser Mobile, Rooftop versus Central, Armands versus Gimme Bit, Eat, Drink, Chill. I don't know, just come nice upon yourself, bring out the family, everyone. I don't know, it's a morning affair, straight back till night. I don't know, stage show time and a special guest in the house passing through. Mikey Crucial, that's me, and the man called Ayawata. Hosted by Kings of JJ from Rebel Radio. Make it a day, don't be late, things will be great, 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 great.
Yes, man, the one there really coming up. Yes, Buddha.
Another one again with Buddha. Celebration party. A day and night chill. One Love at Victoria Town, Manchester on Sunday, May 31st. Domino match featuring Rooftop versus Central. Hammond versus Give Him a Bit. Music by Laser Mobile. Hosted by me, DJ Kingston JJ. Special guest artist signed Ayawater, Mikey Crucial. Admission, clear the liquor shelf, refreshment and sale. It's no doubt
out. So reach out. Victoria Town Square, South Galchester. It's gonna be great. Don't be late. It's time to come together.
Yes, that one is of course forwarding this Sunday, and I want to see if we can get right here the man himself, Buddha. All right. Trying to get Buddha. All right, let's try another way. All right, another way. Okay, yeah. Oh, yes, you know, it's going to be a big thing going on. South Manchester, or I want to call it Galchester, yes. Domino match, and, you know, the music and the show right there in Victoria Town Square.
You have been redone.
Okay, I have to leave that one out, not getting either of them. All right, so that one for Buddha. Looking forward to that this Sunday. All right.
Don't for me the voice in our oldest to talk. Cash the powerful boss and even I be giving me full doors. Buddha, general and a present you know morning chill. I think call One Love, 31st of May. Some of the pay a calendar so you can remember. Place we know say Victoria Town, you know, Manchester. And that me say the 31st of May and the event there, everybody are there. It's a day and night event, you know. Diamond One games all day, all night, you know. Music by Laser Mobile, Big Sound, Woolly Hard and Broad Country in town. And that me say 31st of May. Yeah, One Love. The party there, I just say everybody are there. You listening? I think this should be listening now. More than my family. Mad move, one a bad move.
Man named Buddha.
Yo, rude boy says Levi, and I write my end as a virgin Buddha thing, you know. May 31st. Victoria Town, South Manchester, you don't know, a morning chill vibe. Domino tournament. You don't know music by Laser Mobile, Champion Sound, Levi and Darcy scene. Make sure say on the show up and support Buddha, you know, a real general. You hear that? Levi said that. All of the females them out, all of the warriors them out. Bad sound up on the ground. Don't miss it. Boom. Levi.
Food and liquor make quick find way. Victoria Town you find way up there. Whole heap of things are galong up there. Remember the date of 31st of May. Believe it or else man, down to the baby pants food and no Buddha. I keep a thing called Morning Chill. Call One Love. And guess what? Victoria Town Square, South Manchester. Musical provision by Laser Mobile. And there is Domino Extravaganza in the day. Rooftop versus Central. Harmons versus Gimme Me Bit. I remember no man, it's a eat and chill thing and it's a morning cookout. Remember the place to be man, Victoria Town Square. Said I was rolling in from west to Victoria Town address. When you hear the voice, you know it is I that I representing. That one here, 31st of May. Victoria Town. About that thing.
Yes, man, the man Buddha. You don't know that man is going to really do his thing representing in that region, Mackenzie. Yes, we're looking forward to that and to just visit hometown back again. It's quite a long while, you know, and you don't know. I am no stranger down there and us going to make it, you know, with the artists them. A lot of artists, I can just reach out to sign Mikey Crucial and of course sign Mikey Crucial and Ayawata. All right. I don't know what was going to happen right there. Ayawata. Okay, yes, we're looking forward to that. All right. I have a few songs to play here. I think what's your name? Angie sent that one to me. Angie. Okay. let me see what we have here. This one here from Angie. Dum de dum de dum. Okay. Not getting through to that one at all. All right. There we go. I'm gonna just blast off with some of these music, take us out, and up to the time, there's a few minutes to have leave right here. What's this one?
This one dedicated to all you who ride bicycle, like one sauce, man and butter. I admire all you them ride one wheel. This is the man called Earl, be the thing called one wheel, wheelie, one wheel. Say they paid well and say we are Miranda. They ride bicycle fuel and Jamaica. Olympic runs come and well silver. So all of these them better ride harder. But when you are good when you're in a danger, you just one wheel, really make we really one wheel. Say this is not a bargain, say this is not a deal. Say this is like having a delicious meal. I just love how they do them a ride one wheel. Some say that them a one line, they make up the scale. But who can hear, you know them have to feel. Say if you can't do it, then you ride two wheel. They call it one wheel, really make we really one wheel. Say this is not a bargain, say this is not a deal. Say this is like having a delicious meal. It may look like a movie, but you know it is real. I like she don't run with me, but me see I'm strictly the baby. In the bed, she has to take out 90. I get a look and I say, see body go take it. I love me, girl, I love me, oh well. Me girl, I love me, boy. I love me, boy. I love my skin away.
Yeah man, these starts are called at the party with DJ Kingsley JJ. You know, back in the days, you can tell, say, you know, I saw the places to run in the 70s and the 80s, right? And, you know, just I reflect back and see what's happening right now. Lee Ride done smart.
Let us all leave us all. Yeah. Throw away your gun, throw away your knife. Let us all unite. Everyone is.
This is our Kingsley JJ struggle in JA.
living in fear. Just do this, police interfere. What you look like outside the east, and you might rest and wait. You want to come say you are the best, police interfere. Tell you my brother, police interfere. Police interfere. Tell you my sister, police interfere. Throw away your gun, throw away your knife. Let us all unite. Everyone is living in fear. Just do this, police interfere. What you look like outside the east, and you might rest and wait. You are gonna say you are the best, police interfere. Tell you my brother, police interfere. Police interfere. Tell you my sister, police interfere. Police interfere. Police interfere. Show where you go, show where you knife. Let us all unite. Show where you go, show where you knife. Let us all unite. Give me my
Yeah, man, the artist that just recently passed away, you know. I want to sing Johnny Dollar. Pay a tribute to him right now, you know. And, you know, he's a legend in the thing, and we just have to pay the respect. So, the artist, Johnny Dollar.
Why do you are? There is somebody seeing you, Johnny Dollar.
Yeah, man, this one is going to take us out. And I just want to let everyone know, say, well, yeah, man, life continues and all of that. And look forward to doing this again on Friday. Okay, so make sure you have everything ready and sort out for the weekend with sports and entertainment and a lot of events. I can see that some fest has been launched and cartel and a lot more is on it. So you're going to hear more about the summer festival events coming up right here on World of Sports and Entertainment. So take this out, Johnny Dollar.
You are, there is somebody seeing you, Johnny Dollar. In this noisy room, I've got to move, you gotta find me, there's a man next door with a radio, and he plays it all through the night. There's a couple, there's a apartment above my head. They do nothing.
Man, my respect and condolences.
For saying fine. I can't get no sleep in this noisy room. I've got to move, you gotta find me, while you
If
It's the Everybody Sale at New Budget Supplies. Do-it-yourself professionals and contractors. This is the sale for you. Lumber, steel, dress and form ply, water tanks, pumps, PVC pipes and fittings, toilets, bathtubs, vanities and basins, windows, paint, doors, floor and wall tiles, thin sets and grout. Up to 20% off selected items. 195 Hagleyburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Tools, hardware, and supplies is turning up the heat this summer with their super saving summer sale. Prices are slashed on everything you need to fix up your home. Beautiful tiles, sleek doors, top quality windows, modern sanitary ware, exclusive flooring, and more. At Tools, hardware, and supplies, we have you covered for the summer.
So come visit us at 279 Spanish Town Road, 4 South Camp Road, 8 Red Hills Road,
or online at toolsja.com.
Tools!
The Lion King of Hardware.